There's something I learned later in life that would have saved me a lot of trouble when I was younger. You do not need to tell people your money situation, not your salary, not your savings, not your debts, not what you paid for the house, not what you have in the bank, not what your investments are worth, not what you are leaving your kids, not what you can afford, not what you cannot afford. Some people think that sounds secretive. I do not see it that way. I see it as mature. There is a big difference between being private and being dishonest. Being dishonest is telling lies. Being private is knowing that not everyone needs access to every part of your life. And money is one of those parts. Money changes the way people look at you. That is just the truth. They may not mean to do it. They may not even notice they are doing it. But once people know too much about your finances, they start placing you in a box. If they think you have money, they expect things from you. If they think you do not have money, they may look down on you. If they think you make more than them, they may resent you. If they think you make less than them, they may pity you. Either way, the relationship changes. And most of the time, it does not change for the better. I knew a man years ago who did very well for himself. Quiet fellow, drove an ordinary car, wore ordinary clothes, lived in a nice house, but not a flashy one. He had money, but you would not know it unless you were close to him. One day, some people found out roughly what he was worth. And after that, everything changed. Family members started asking for help. Friends started joking about him paying. People started saying little things like, "Must be nice," or "You can afford it." And he told me once, "The money did not change me, it changed them." That stuck with me because that is what happens when people know too much. They stop seeing you as just a person. They start seeing you as a number, and that number becomes part of every conversation. This is why not disclosing finances is smart socially. It keeps relationships cleaner. When people do not know exactly what you have, they have less to compare, less to judge, and less to use against you. Comparison is poison. It can ruin friendships, families, and work relationships. You buy a car, someone asks what it cost. You go on a trip, someone asks how you paid for it. You mention retirement, someone asks how much you saved. You help one person, then another person hears about it and wonders why you did not help them too. Before you know it, your private business becomes public discussion. And let me tell you something. People are not always careful with information. You tell one person something in confidence, and by next week, 3 people know a twisted version of it. You say, "I'm doing all right." They say, "He is loaded." You say, things are tight right now." They say, "He is broke." People simplify things. They exaggerate. They fill in blanks. And money talk gives them plenty of blanks to fill in. And that is why I've learned to keep it simple. If someone asks too much, you do not need to get rude. You do not need to act offended. You just give a calm answer. "I am doing okay. We are managing. I try to be careful with money. I do not really talk numbers. That is private, but everything is fine." Simple. You do not owe people a full financial report. And professionally, this matters even more. At work, talking too much about money can create problems. If people know what you make, they may compare themselves to you. If they think you are doing well, they may assume you do not need opportunities. If they think you are struggling, they may question your judgment. If you tell coworkers about side income, investments, business plans, bonuses, or savings, that information can travel. And once it travels, you do not control it anymore. I have seen this happen. A man tells one coworker he has a rental property, then suddenly everyone treats him like he is rich. Another person says they are behind on bills, and people start quietly seeing them as unstable. Someone talks about a big bonus, and now half the office is annoyed. Someone says they are planning to retire early, and management starts leaving them out of future plans. Money information can change how people view your commitment, your ambition, your stability, and your value. That does not mean you should never discuss pay in the right setting. Sometimes workers need to know if they're being underpaid. Sometimes salary transparency helps people negotiate fairly, but that is different from casually telling everybody your personal financial life. There is a time, a place, and a reason. Not every lunch table conversation needs to become a bank statement. Not every coworker needs to know what you own. Not every boss needs to know your personal situation. And not every friend needs to know what you can afford. One of the smartest things you can say is, "I keep that private." That is not rude. That is adult. Another reason privacy helps is that it protects your peace. When people know too much about your finances, they often feel invited to give opinions. You buy something, they question it. You save money, They mock you for being cheap. You spend money, they call you careless. You invest, they warn you. You do not invest, they lecture you. Everybody becomes an expert on your life, and most of them do not know what they are talking about. They do not know your full picture. They do not know your goals. They do not know your responsibilities. They do not know what you went through. They just know one little piece, and they build a whole story around it. That is why privacy is powerful. Privacy gives you room to make decisions without the noise. It lets you move quietly. It lets you build without applause. It lets you recover from mistakes without gossip. It lets you improve your life without explaining every step to people who are not helping you anyway. And that is another thing. The people who ask the most personal money questions are often not the people who are going to help you. They are just curious. They want information. Sometimes they want comparison. Sometimes they want entertainment. Sometimes they want leverage. Not always, but often enough that you should be careful. Now, I'm not saying you should be cold. There are people you can talk to, a spouse, of course, a serious partner, a trusted financial advisor, an accountant, a lawyer, maybe a very close family member who has proven over many years that they are wise and discreet. But that circle should be small, very small, because financial privacy is not about hiding. It is about protecting. You protect your home by locking the door. You protect your health by being careful what you put in your body. You protect your reputation by watching what you say. And you protect your financial life by not handing out information to people who do not need it. That includes success and struggle. Some people only think about hiding success, but it is also smart not to over-disclose when you are struggling, because when you tell too many people you are having financial trouble, some will help, yes, but others will remember it forever. Years later, when you are doing better, they may still see you as the person who was broke. They may still bring it up. They may still question your choices. They may still hold it over you. So be careful. Ask for help when you truly need help. There's no shame in that. But do not turn temporary problems into public identity. A hard season does not need to become your reputation. And on the other side, a good season does not need to become your advertisement. The best position is quiet strength. You do not need to look rich. You do not need to sound rich. You do not need to prove you are doing well. You do not need to explain why you said no. That last one is important. A lot of people reveal their finances because they feel guilty saying no. Someone asks them to go somewhere expensive and they start explaining. Well, I have this bill and I am trying to save and things are tight and I cannot really afford it right now. You do not have to do all that. You can just say, I am going to pass this time. That is enough. Someone asks for money. You can say, I cannot help with that. That is enough. Someone asks what you paid. You can say, I would rather keep that private. That is enough. The older I get, the more I respect simple answers. You do not need a speech. You do not need a defense. You do not need to convince people. A calm boundary is enough. And here is something else I have noticed. People who are truly secure with money usually do not talk about it all the time. They may talk about principles. They may talk about discipline. They may talk about mistakes they learned from. But they are usually not announcing numbers to every person they meet, because they understand that money is a tool, not a personality. Money is there to support your life. It is not there to become your identity. Once you start telling everyone your numbers, you invite them into a part of your life where they may not belong. And once they are in, it can be hard to get them out. So my advice is simple. Keep your finances boring in public. Be modest when you are doing well. Be steady when you are not. Do not brag. Do not complain to everyone. Do not explain every purchase. Do not announce every raise. Do not share every setback. Handle your business quietly. There is dignity in that. There is power in that. There is peace in that. And socially, it helps people like you for who you are, not what they think you have. Professionally, it keeps unnecessary judgment away from your name. Personally, it keeps your mind clearer. Because the fewer people involved in your financial life, the fewer opinions you have to carry. At the end of the day, your money situation is between you, the people directly affected by it, and the professionals who help you manage it. Everyone else can know the basics. I am doing fine. I am being careful. I am working on things. That is enough. You do not need to disclose everything to be honest. You do not need to be open with everyone to be a good person. And you do not need to prove anything with your finances. The smartest people I've known moved quietly. They built quietly. They helped quietly. They struggled quietly. They won quietly. And when people asked too much, they smiled and changed the subject. There is wisdom in that, because a private financial life is usually a calmer financial life. And a calmer financial life gives you something money is supposed to buy in the first place: peace,